So, today I'm gonna be showing you and teaching you different ways of answering or replying when someone says thank you for you. Well, my name is Joanna Gabrielle, and I help you get rid of intermediate and finally get to understand and speak fluent English in 6 months. Well, first of all, I would like to clarify that there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying you're welcome when someone says thank you. But since this one is usually the first way that we all learn when learning English, it tends to be a little overused by people because you learn it first, so it kind of stucks in your brain. So I'm here to show you different ways, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying it, okay? And first, let's take a closer look to you're welcome, okay? So, as I said before, there's nothing wrong with it, and it's actually kind of in the middle because it's not necessarily casual, but at the same time it's not extremely formal. So it's more like in the middle. You would be completely polite when using it, but at the same time not too much formal. So you can totally use it in any situation, in any to anyone, any person, and they would all welcome it very well. Okay, so you're welcome is like the basic form, it's in the middle and it's polite. Okay, second one, it's more used in America and by young people. Okay, I wouldn't say young people or in casual situations. I wouldn't say that people will use it in extremely formal situations or that older people will choose this form to express themselves in English when you say thank you. That is no problem. This one is particularly my favorite when I'm talking to my friends or my daughter. I always say no problem because I'm used to it. It's just my personal preference, but it is a bit less formal than you're welcome, and it's mainly used in America. If you go to Britain, it will probably be of less usage, okay? But it is accepted too, all right? Mostly for younger people or in casual situations, all right? The third one is my pleasure, or in another way, in an even more formal way of saying it, the pleasure is mine. The pleasure is mine is the full form, but my pleasure is the short form of it, and it's equally formal, and it's this one is more used in England, in Britain than in America. It is also more used for older people or informal situations. Okay, so if you're talking to your young friends, or if you're talking like in casual situations, like as in a bar or in a pub or something like that, it would be a little bit unusual to be saying the pleasure is mine, but it's not weird. So, yes, you can use it, even though people would not. Probably not choose this one as the first option. Okay, so the pleasure is mine. This is the full form, more formal. And my pleasure is the short form of it that you can use in less formal situations, and it's more used in England than America. Okay, the fourth way of saying it is also replying with thank you, but it happens when you specifically want to thank the other person as well. For example, when someone thanks you for something, but you believe that you should be thanking them instead. So the person says, like, oh, thank you for coming. And you say, like, oh, no, thank you for inviting me. So you're saying that it's you who should be thanking the person and not the opposite. It's all on the emphasis of the word you. So thank you, when you say like thank you, it means like no, not thank me, thank you. Okay, it's all of the emphasis and intonation. Then the next form of replying it is with that's all right. It's actually very casual, very, very casual. And depending on the situation, depending on the person, and depending on all of the context, the person may think that this is a little rude. So I would advise you to be careful when using this particular way. When you say that's all right, it usually means that you are like mostly unwilling of doing that. So when someone says like, oh, heartily, thank you for that, thank you very much, and you say, oh, that's all right, it means that, okay, I don't care, like, that's all right. But of course, it's not 100% of the times rude. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying that it's going to be like surely rude when you use it, but it could be misunderstood as a rude statement depending on the way you say it or depending on the whole context of the conversation. Okay, but yes, you can use it in very casual situations with young people or in, yeah, when with friends. Okay, depending also on the level of intimacy that you have with the person. It's also more typical in America. The other one, it's pretty similar with no problem. It's no worries. No worries is also a very casual form of saying it. I would say a little bit less casual than no problem, but it can also be used in all of the situations. It can be used with both young and older people. Okay, but of course it's not formal, so I would not advise you to use it in too much formal situations like in your job or in an audience with someone, with a judge, for example. We would not advise it. But in daily conversations, daily situations, you could totally use no worries in all of these possible conversations you may have. And it's also very simple to remember. So, no worries. Another one that's very British, it would be don't mention it. Don't mention it. It expresses like something that it wasn't a problem at all for you, like it wasn't any effort for you to do, or that you shouldn't be being thanked by that. For example, I would thank you very much for doing that. And you say like, no, don't mention it. It was nothing. You don't need to thank me for that. You know, you're just basically saying that the person doesn't need to thank you for that. So don't mention it. It's very posh. It's very polite. Okay. Another way of saying it is anytime. It's also very easy to remember. Anytime, it implies that you are open at any time for anything that the person may need again. So if they need another favor, you're going to be there to do it if you can. So when someone says thank you and you reply to anytime, this person is going to understand that you are free or willing to do all the favors to them. It is very polite to say it too. Another way that's also very formal, no, not formal, I'm sorry, it's also very casual and very common, is just sure. It's a very American way. When someone says thank you, when you say just sure, it's when it's more of a, how would I say, when you don't actually think very well about what you're gonna say, or you don't know how to reply it in another way, you just say the first thing that comes to mind, and it's usually sure or Yeah, that's even more casual. So when you say like, yeah, sure, you can just say like the two of them together. It's very, very casual, probably mostly used by young people with their friends. So depending on the situation, I would not advise you to use it. Okay. Um, Another way is when you're saying it was nothing. It also implies that it was no effort to you. So when it's something that it didn't take you any additional effort, or when it was something that you would do anyway, you just say like, oh, it was nothing, it was nothing. It's just like I would do it anyway, so yeah, it was nothing. It's very yeah, it is a polite way to answer it. The other way is much obliged. Much obliged is a very, very posh way of saying it. I don't usually see it in daily conversations. I don't really hear people saying it daily, but it is indeed used depending on the situation and depending on the person as well. And also, probably depending on the place you are, on the region that you live. Okay, it's gonna be more used than in others. So, much obliged is not commonly used every day, but it is a valid way of saying it. Okay, so these are the most common ways of saying it. You can totally say you're welcome if you want to, but you can also say much. Oops, you can also say all of these options, all of these options as well. The first one you remember, and keeping in mind that it depends on the situation and on the person that you are referring to. Okay, so keep all of them in mind. Usually, people will not be paying so much attention to what you reply, it's true, but it's always better to reply in a polite way, especially depending on the person you are talking to. Okay, so I see you in the next class. Thank you for watching, and I hope that I have helped you with that. And leave in the comments which one do you prefer? Which one is your favorite of these ones? See ya! Bye bye.